Gemma's gonna try to ride a manual bike for the first time. She never rode a motorbike, and she rode a scooter a couple of years ago for the first time. So she's just learning how to stop and stuff and use the brakes, which is not very intuitive, is it?
Oh, that's not a brake.
That is not the brake.
Why do they make it look like a brake?
Hi everyone, I'm Andre, and since I've been digging through the golf stuff, I found this thing. This is a 50cc motorbike that I got when I was 14, and I think it hasn't run for about 10 years. So in this little video, I'm going to see if I can get that guy working again, then go for a ride. I think first thing I'm going to do is pump up the tires so if they hold any air, so at least I'm not destroying the tires and the inner tubes if I'm wheeling it around. Then we'll give it a clean and see what we can do. The air is coming straight out of the back wheel. It's not holding any air, which is a pain in the ass because this wheel is the hardest one to change out of the two, but looks like we're gonna have to get busy. So I'm gonna need a new inner chamber, maybe a new tire, maybe not. The fuel is probably all crap, so I'm gonna have to take that off. Whilst I'm at it, I might as well check the carburetor, make sure that there's spark, make sure there's compression, because if you have air, spark, fuel and compression, you should have a working engine. The spark plug doesn't look too bad. It's not the biggest spark in the world, but it'll definitely work. Right, so we have spark. Let's get this old fuel out. So the tank is fully drained. The old fuel pipe from the tank to the carburetor feels like it's gonna break into a million pieces. So managed to find a little piece of tube. It looks a little bit bigger, but it might work. Whilst I'm at it, I'm gonna take the fuel tap off to make sure it's not full of gunk and everything. Oh yeah, there's a fuel filter in this. That's quite good. That makes a lot of sense. There's a little fuel filter in this and it's full of gunk, so very much worth taking off. I think whilst I'm at it, I'll take the fuel tank off as well because that makes it easier to clean. Clean. It wasn't that dirty actually, so that's gonna go back in here. The fuel filter and tap is fully clean, so that's going to go back in. Whilst I'm at it, I might as well do the carburetor. That's the filter. So the carburetor's off and so is the filter. It looks pretty nasty, but the airbox, but the actual filter inside is clean. So I don't need to do anything on that. Just gonna clean the outside of this and then that's good to go.
you doing?
That's the throttle body, and that's the choke plate. This is the carburetor. Looks better, doesn't it?
Loads better.
Oh, should be able to take this off. This is just like just to make sure. It's probably not needed, but I like to check these seals, check there's nothing weird blocking. Carburetor is the thing that regulates how much fuel goes into the engine. In normal, like in your car and stuff, there'll be these things called injectors, which is basically an electronic solenoid that goes psh, 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 and squirts fuel. This doesn't have any electronics, it's all mechanical. That's why it has a little float here to know how much fuel is in here. And then it has this jet, what's called a carburetor jet, on the bottom here that you can adjust, and ports sort of thing. You have different size jets for different size engines. That's the Badger. If you look at this is all just a series of holes and ports and little holes that all have to be the right sizes for as the air goes in, it sucks in just the right amount of fuel. And then depending on where you have the position of your throttle, because it has this needle here that is matched to that jet, and the shape of this is conical, as it goes up and down it will allow more or less fuel in. This spark plug back on. Fuel flowing now. Now we have the moment of truth. No, the moment of untruth. Oh, something's happened. I'm going to try to ride it around, see if I can get it a bit easier than kicking the kick. Kicking the kick. I think I might have drowned it. I'm going to pull the spark plug out again and see what it's like. Gonna try the old trick of getting a bit of petrol directly into the cylinder, see if I can get it going somehow. Nope. Next thing, take off the exhaust and make sure it's not completely blocked by something weird. This might explain it. There was a load of these on the Golf. Some animals like to build nests. I don't know if it's wasps or something, but there's always this, it's like an abandoned nest of, it's like clay or sand or something. This might be too much restriction to keep the motor from starting. We'll see if I can clear it out. But first, let's just try to kick it for the hell of it. Looks like that was it. It works. It's just the end here, I think. That's the beauty of two-stroke engines. They're incredibly simple. Look at that. So the actual exhaust hole is this one, and with having all this crap in here, it wouldn't let it start. And once you look on the inside, you realize that that hole is actually completely plugged by this stuff. So if I clear it out, I think we're going to be able to start it and run normal. So that hole is clear now. So I'll put it back together and it should work. Here we go. Getting it running is one thing. Getting it running well, though, it's going to take a little while. Right, day 2. Engine's running. Need to somehow support it so I can take this tire out and then do some tweaking of the carburetor so it runs right, and then I think that's it. That's a bit dodgy, but if I'm careful, I think it'll work. I think I need to take this tensioner out and loosen that bolt. And then same thing on this side, has another tensioner on this side. And also take the rear brake rod out. And then this loop, taking the chain out, and then this whole back wheel should come off. Just need to be careful that the whole thing doesn't fall down. Huh. You can see how the little brake drum works. Has a rod on this side that pulls this lever when you press on the rear brake, which expands the brakes on the drum. Nice. The tire doesn't seem to be in bad condition actually. Just a little bit cracked, but it's just a surface crack. Pop this tire out and put a new inner chamber in. These bikes usually came with this little toolkit under the seat, and I think these are to help to take the tire out. There you go. That's the hardest part. So I should be able to fish out the inner chamber, just like changing the tire inner chamber on a bike. Oh, there you go. That's the problem. It's completely ruined. Got a new one. the tricky bit here is trying to get that valve in there without taking the tire completely off. Ooh, got lucky there. Gonna put this on before it's too late. The inner tube in correctly so that it doesn't have any pinches and stuff. Literally just a little bit of dish soap. Just slowly work your way around. When you're taking it off, it's really hard to start. When you're putting it on, it's really hard to end. But luckily, with the right tools, screwdrivers are quite bad for this, but with these, it's actually not bad. Now I just need to put that back in there. So all of these are just loosely on. So as I understand it, these screws pull it, adjust the wheel back and forth so it's in the right position. And this one, you used to get the right tension on the wheel, and then you kind of lock that one off. And then this one, on this side, you would adjust to make sure that the wheel tracks correctly and it's not hitting anything and it's nice and straight. So after those two are done, I can tighten the big axle bolts, and then it's just a case of adjusting the rear brake, and then I think it should be back to normal with a working tire. Yep, okay, that's it. And that's good. Seems fine. I think the rear axle is in place and tight. I just need to tighten and adjust the rear brake, and I think that's it. Okay, so last thing is to get this thing running right, and it always feels like when you're giving it gas that it chokes a bit because it feels like it doesn't have enough fuel. I've taken the carburetor apart, I've fiddled with lots of the idle settings and everything, and it doesn't seem to be going anywhere. So when I pulled the jet off, there's a tiny hole in it. There's a tiny hole in it that is supposed to regulate the fuel exactly, and it has to be matched to the needle on the throttle body. And I think I found the culprit where it seems there's like something, like a little bit of dust or something, that's just on the end that is restricting the flow to maybe half of what it should be. You can't really drill it out because you'll change the size too much, but I think if I can, with a needle or something, get rid of that, I'll see if I can show you this. There's something there, I don't know if you can see, there's something there. There, just there. And now it started to rain.
Where did this come from?
I don't know. Right, I think I've managed to get it out. You can see it. You can see through a lot better now. There you go.
It's raining sideways in Portugal.
that really looked like it could be it. I can't wait to put it back together to see if it runs properly now. Right, that's it. A really satisfying project, as these always are when you actually succeed at the end. Surprising number of weird things that weren't letting it start, like a bug nest on the back and a random piece of debris on the jet on the carburetor. But other than that, maybe even the fuel was fine. Anyway, I'm going to go for the first little ride around, make sure everything is fine. And yeah, thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye!